I said that I was going to do a video. I was considering doing one of my experiences inside the mental hospital because I've been three different times, and yeah, it's pretty cold in my room, so I got my head, face covered up, but you can still hear me just fine. It don't really matter how well you can see me, but yeah, I've been to the mental hospital three different times in my life. Most recently, it was late March of this year, but my first time going was back in 2014. It was for a suicide attempt. And I went to a place, it was a crisis stabilization unit up in Athens called Vantage Point. And, like, it's not really like how it's portrayed in the movies. There's a bunch of people like sitting in cells and straight jackets walking back and forth screaming. It wasn't anything like that. Maybe that kind of thing goes on in places for the criminally insane. I don't know, but I've never been to a place for the criminally insane. Really, what happens is you pretty much confined to one area during the day. I always called it the living quarters. It's basically just a bunch of chairs and tables and one TV for everybody to share and watch. And there's never anything good on the TV because it's never you that gets to decide what to watch. It's always somebody else. And so you basically at the mercy of whatever they want to watch. And I remember like they was watching stuff like they just turned on some movie channel, whatever the movie channel. Like the one time it showed something I liked, which was Pulp Fiction, and we wasn't allowed to watch it because it had drug use in it, and there was people in there detoxing from heroin, meth, or something. I don't know. And then sometimes they want to watch fucking college football. So I spent most of my time just sitting at a table doing word searches and reading the same fucking two books over and over. There's only two books there I even remotely cared about reading, and I read them over and over again. And I probably did like 20, 25 word searches because I didn't really talk to anybody because I didn't care about anybody in there. I didn't care why they was in there. I didn't care what their story was. There was one guy or two. There was two that I started to talk to. But that was around like the last day and a half I was in there, and I was in there for about 5 days. And I actually tried to add him on Facebook when I got out of here back then, but I never really heard back from him. So that kind of sucked because I actually liked him. But it's the worst thing about being in these kinds of places for the most part. There's a couple of things. One's the crippling boredom. Because like I said, what I just said, that like if you're at a place where I mean, if you have really good health insurance, you might go somewhere nice. They might have activity rooms and stuff. But if you go to like a shitty state ran place like I did, there's nothing there. It's just the living quarters and then your rooms. That's it. There's no activity room and nothing. So you're pretty much just confined to sitting in a chair watching TV or that. And that's it, unless they happen to have some other activity. Like they probably have word searches to do, and you're gonna get tired of doing those really quick. Other than that, you have to just try and make conversation with people in there if you don't mind being around them, which I did for the most part. That's one thing. The crippling boredom too is the massive anxiety you feel being surrounded by a bunch of complete strangers who are in there for mental health reasons. You don't know who they are, what they did to get in there. They could be dangerous. They could have been hearing voices telling them to kill somebody. You don't know. And you're out of your comfort zone. You're out of your element. You're in a place that's unfamiliar, you've never been before, and you're trapped in and confined with all of these people. That especially gets bad when you're trying to sleep because you're probably going to be sharing a room with about at least four other people. Vantage point, I was in there with about three or four other people. There was always one motherfucker in there to be snoring at the top of his lungs. So I couldn't sleep. No, none of us could sleep. Like we all got up and complained to the nurses that his snoring was keeping us awake when we couldn't sleep. When we asked if we could just sit in there, And the nurses flat out said, "We don't want you up bugging us all night." It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought for a second that was kind of your job as a nurse and staff, to put up with us. That's your fucking job. If you didn't want to do that, then why the fuck did you sign up for it? But it shows you how little staff actually cares, and that staff doesn't care very much. The ones that did care no longer care when they're there long enough because there's probably so much shit they got to put up with. They probably just become numb to it all. Uh, but Vantage Point itself wasn't all that bad, I guess. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't a vacation, but it wasn't like a horrible thing. It wasn't like prison. I mean, the food was bad. It's your typical hospital food. You didn't get a choice in what you ate. It's either eat what they fucking give you or you go without. That's what I had to do a lot of time. I went without, which is especially bad since I'm diabetic. And it gets my blood sugar out of whack when I do that. But you can't just stay in your room all day. If you think, oh, I know I can avoid people, I'll just lay in my bed. No, they force you to get up, and they force you to get up and be in the room with the rest of them. It's an attempt to get you socialized with them. It's like I didn't so like I tried my damnest not to socialize with anybody. And for most part, people left me alone, except for those other two I actually started talking to because they wasn't completely brainless. They were actually pretty funny or interesting to talk to. The most entertaining night I actually remember at Vantage Point, there was a bad storm and a breaker went out, like a transformer outside or something went out. The power was out in the entire building, and we had to keep the room lit with fucking like lamps and everything. And we was all just sitting around, just fucking cutting up and bullshitting. I was more just listening. I was talking, but there was a lot of funny shit being said and stuff. That's about the only night I actually enjoyed myself there. Is when the power was out. Strangely enough, but yeah, I was there for 5 days, and I wasn't any better when I got out. They just kept me. They just they just shoved medicine down my throat, and just kept me long enough until they felt like they couldn't get anything else out of me because I didn't have health insurance. So it wasn't like I could really pay them. So I was only there for 5 days. And the second one I was in, well, you know what? Actually, I'll go that one last. That one's probably the most interesting and the worst one. So I'll go back to that one. So third one, the most recent one I was in, was a place called Avita. I think it's a Flowery Branch. And I was put in there. I attempted suicide back in late January again. And I wasn't feeling any better after that. I was I was having thoughts again, and I was not sleeping well, and I decided to check myself into a regular hospital. I ended up being at the regular hospital for 6 days because that's about how long it took for them to find a place. They originally wanted me to send me to a place called Laurelwood, and that sucks too. When I saw the pictures of it, it looked really nice. But nah, I went to really shitty Avita, like it's a state ran facility too, and everything there looked old and decrepit. There's like grime on the fucking walls. Like the floors themselves were mopped and swept just fine, but the walls inside the room stuff, you can tell nobody really bothered to take care of those. And I was in there for about 5 days, just like Vantage Point, and you know, it wasn't that different really. The only thing that was different about it compared to Vantage Point was the food was better because it wasn't hospital food. I don't know who cooked it because they didn't cook it there in the kitchen. Somebody cooked it and they brought it. And sometimes they just flat out order Domino's pizza. They'd order like 3 or 4 large boxes of it. Which is all well and good, but the big problem is one other difference between this and Vantage Point is when I was here, this is this has been since I had developed the gluten intolerance, and they didn't offer gluten-free alternatives, even though I told them I couldn't eat it, and they knew about it because I told them, and all the food they brought had gluten in it, so I either had to go without eating, or I had to eat, and then pretty much forsake sleeping or forego sleeping because I was going to get up and have to use the bathroom every 5 fucking minutes, and that's exactly what happened. Like I went as long as I possibly could without eating or eat whatever little bit they would bring that didn't have gluten in it. But eventually, you got to eat, and I ended up eating a lot of pizza, and I ended up going to sleep for the night, and I woke up like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours later with I had shit all over myself because that's what gluten does to your stomach when you have an intolerance for it. It was the most embarrassing fucking thing in the world because you know I'm not like it wasn't the first time I shit on myself past year, but before I was in the comfort privacy of my own home. I could just get up, wash myself, and change clothes. I couldn't do that here. I didn't have a spare set of clothes to change into, a spare set of boxers, or any of that. So what ended up happening was I ended up having to tell the staff, and they brought me some random clothes out there. I looked like a fucking goof wearing them. Stuff I would never be caught fucking dead wearing, but I didn't have much of a choice. They had a washer and dryer, so I put but see, it was lights out which means everybody was sleeping. You had to go to sleep, so I couldn't dry them because the dryer was loud, and they didn't want me to put it when people were trying to sleep. They didn't want me to use it, so I had to wait till the next day to fucking wash and dry my clothes. And just like I never like to do a Vantage Point, for sure, didn't like to do it here because people would just open the washer and dryer and fucking put their own stuff in there or take your stuff out and do whatever with it. And I was paranoid people's gonna touch my clothes. And every single place I've stayed at, there's been a fight, at least one. The day I left Vita, right before I got up, they told me my parents are here. Before I got up and walked out, like literally a minute before that, I was sitting in chairs just watching two women on the floor right in front of me cat fighting. Some It was a shorter, older lady. She had some real fucking problem with another lady there. I don't know what it was. She kept saying like she just didn't like her for some reason. I didn't see the other woman doing anything or saying anything out of line to her. She just had a problem with her, and then she just walked up and she's holding a cup of water, and she just knocked it out of her hand and slapped her, and then they was on the floor pulling each other's hair and shit that you always see women doing movies and shit. And I was just sitting there watching them, waiting, waiting to fucking leave, and one of the orderlies broke them up, and everybody got sent to their rooms except me. They told me to stay there because I was about to leave, and like right after he told me that, somebody came and got me and said, "Yeah, your parents here. It's time to leave." And hopefully that's gonna be the last time I ever in a mental hospital. Avita was about the same as Vantage Point, maybe a little bit worse because I didn't like at Avita. I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't say a word unless somebody said something to me first. I would answer them, but other than that, I didn't say a word to any fucking body. I didn't relate to anyone there. I was scared of everybody. And another big problem with these places, the bathrooms are not private. It's, yeah, I mean, they have stalls and toilets, but that's fine. I've used public bathrooms before, but the problem is showering. For one, they don't give you good shampoo. It's like the worst fucking cheapest shampoo you'll ever see or use in your life. It's basically it's like they jacked it from hotel rooms, and they don't give you any soap, conditioner, any of that. It's basically just it's basically like shampoo that doubles as body wash, but it's really shitty. You don't feel clean after you use it, and taking a shower is really annoying because, like I said, the bathrooms aren't private. So while you're in there taking a shower, another patient could just walk in there to use the bathroom at any fucking point. And it's like, I gotta undress and get dressed here, man. Can you leave? I don't feel comfortable you being in here when I'm trying to put my clothes on. It's I have a thing also. It's about using the bathroom. I know other people around when it comes to like taking a shit. I can't do that in public for some reason. I just have a thing about it. Uh, so you pretty much have to just wait till nobody's in there, and you just have to pray whatever God you wish that nobody walks in while you're doing that. I didn't take a shower the entire time. Well, no, Vantage Point I took one shower. They had one bathroom that was just to itself. There was just a toilet and shower, one toilet and shower. I remember I got in and one of the staff members stood outside the door the whole time and just kind of like waited for me to get out. And at Vita, I didn't take a shower. The staff kept trying to get me to, and I refused. I was like, I'll take a shower and I get the fuck out of here, man. Like, I'd rather go without taking one than use that because I'm not gonna be clean with this shit you give me. And they don't give you that much stuff like that. Like when you get in there, they give you when you get in there, they give you the shampoo I mentioned. They might give you like a toothbrush and some cheap toothpaste. That's about it. And they give you a pair of hospital socks to wear. And you can't. Depends on the place. Some of them you can, some of them you can't. But you can't bring your own stuff in there. You can bring your own clothes, but there's certain things you can't wear. Like you can't have shoelaces or drawstrings or any of that. I couldn't wear my leather jacket when I was at Vita. They told me I wasn't allowed to wear it. They never told me why. Like, can I hurt somebody with it? Like there wasn't anything. Like maybe it's because it had like a leather thing hanging off of it. I guess they thought I could hit somebody with it. I don't fucking know. That's because I wish they would let me wear it because it's really fucking cold. I mean, I was walking around like shivering, like trying to keep myself warm, and they don't give you anything to keep yourself warm. These places are always cold. The rooms you sleep in are cold. It's like sleeping in a freezer. But the little cot you lay on, are barely more comfortable than sleeping on the floor. And the blankets or sheets they give you cover up with are so fucking thin. Like they do not keep you warm at all. It's really hard to sleep there because it's so cold and it's cold outside the room. I remember I was walking around the hallways, the blanket wrapped over me, holding myself, just trying to keep myself warm, and it just wasn't working. And that I wish I could have worn my leather jacket. It would have kept me warm. I'm pretty sure, but no, couldn't do it. At least I will say with the Vita though, they didn't really care if you stay in your room. They never tried to get you to come out. They make you come out if it's group time. They try anyway. I got to the point where I just stopped going because the only reason I went in the first place because I was like, well, if I participate, I go to group like I'm supposed to, I'll be able to get out in time. But they flat out tell you to Vita that you're not going to be there. You're going to be there. You're flat going to be there for a week. It's meant to be a temporary stay. So I was like, if I'm going to get out in a week anyway, then why the fuck should I even go to group for? And there was one guy in there who was really combative and aggressive at everybody. He was like, he got really mad at somebody in one of the group sessions. He started cussing, yelling, he's throwing chairs and shit. And he still got to leave. Like, they didn't make him stay any longer than he was going to anyway, despite doing that. So I was like, if he gets to leave doing that, then I think I'll be able to leave right on time, despite not going to group. I eventually quit going. It was the most boring and patronizing shit in the world. And they'd always want to talk like, just like Vantage Point. Avita did this. They forced me to go to a little thing with members of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's like, why the fuck do I got to go to this for? I'm not in here because I'm an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink. I can go years without drinking. You know, like I'm not an alcoholic. I don't need to go to this. If you're gonna get somebody in here that can help literally cure me of my fucking mental illness, then yeah, then we'll talk. But until then, leave me the fuck alone. I don't want to hear their fucking bullshit. And and Vantage Point did the same thing with the groups. And that one too, we'd have to go to a music group, and they sang the most fucking. I keep saying this word, but it's what it is. They kept singing the most patronizing shit. They were singing stuff like "Don't worry, be happy." Get it? You're in it. You're depressed. You're suicidal. So we're gonna sing "Don't worry, be happy" to you. Like, come on. I mean, how much more fucking patronizing can you get? And I saw one video. Somebody said the place they went to had a music room. It's like we didn't even. None of the place I went to even had that. It was just the living quarters and the bedrooms and bathrooms. That was it. There's no activity rooms of any kind. And this leads me to the third one I went to, East Central in Augusta. This was the worst one. This was the one that I think fucked me up even worse than when I went in there. The other two were okay, despite the problems I said. But this one was bad. Like, the thing I said with the Vita about everything looking old, like it hadn't been changed or fixed or replaced forever, it is even worse here. And the floors were dirty. There was dirt, grime, and like just trash everywhere. It had the most volatile patients. there's people arguing or getting each other's faces, screaming, trying to fight every day I was there. One guy in particular was always getting riled up at somebody. And literally, like when I first walked in there, the first 5 minutes I was there, there's a guy in there like claiming I was in his seat or something. I just told him, I said, unless you're gonna make me get up, I'm not fucking moving. Especially because there was plenty of other seats all over the place. He was just trying to fucking pick a fight with me, and I wasn't going back down from him. And the orderlies got between us and separated us. This was 5 minutes after I first arrived there, and I wasn't even trying to fucking start shit. People, he jumped on me as soon as I sat down. Luckily, though, we never had any altercations after that. You know, next time he talked to me, he was just kind of he clearly wasn't all there. You know, he was saying stuff like, "If you murder somebody, just tell them they'll forgive you." And I was like, "Okay, you know, I didn't murder anybody, but you know, thanks for the advice." And I got put in East Central because I hadn't slept in like 5 days and I was hallucinating. And this when I was working at Captain D's, and my mental state was at its worst because that place made me miserable. That's probably why I wasn't sleeping. But yeah, so not only did I almost get in a fight with somebody in my first 5 minutes there, but there's a point. I was only at East Central for like 3 days. But that 3 days was worse than like. See, I was taking a Abilify when I went in there, and they tried to keep me on it, and I told them the first night I told them I refuse to take this medicine. I'm not taking it. It gives me restless legs. And I was starting to think maybe that's also why I couldn't sleep because the Abilify gave me restless leg syndrome, where you know, like if you know what that is, it's where you get this sensation in your legs where you just want to move them. Like you can't keep them still. You got to keep moving around, and it's impossible to sleep. And the Abilify, it's a common side effect of it. And I tried to tell the orderlies that. I tried to explain to them. I was like, I'm not trying to be rebellious. I'm not saying I'm refusing to take any medication you give me because I want to get the fuck out of here. So I'm trying to cooperate, but I don't want to take this particular medication because I want to sleep. And that's the reason I was in there because I want to sleep. And you know what they did? They fucking put tranquilizer in me and they just carried me to bed. And, you know, that's what they fucking did because I was getting argumentative with them. It's like, yeah, I was, but I was trying to make them understand. You know, I wasn't getting violent with them, you know, but if you don't do what they ask you to do, that's what they do. They just put tranquilizer in you. And also, here's the thing that's different from the movies. They don't have straight jackets in these places. If they want to restrain you, which they did me, they'll they'll trank you, and if they have to, they'll tie you down to your bed with leather cuffs, which they also did to me. Um, the thing with the cuffs is I'm really skinny, so when they put my hands in the cuffs, I was able to like wedge my hands out of them without them knowing about it because they couldn't tie them too tight because they did it would cut off circulation. They couldn't do that. They're not supposed to. And like they did all that again just because I didn't want to take my Abilify, and I felt like I had a perfectly valid reason, and I felt like they definitely abused their power, overstepped their boundaries like tenfold. They you know, staff acts like this all the time in places like that. Like I would like whenever people would get in fights and shit, they would just stand there and watch a lot of times, and then they would break they broke mine up when I first walked, probably because I was new, and they was like, we haven't even, and they was like, we haven't even asked you questions and interviewed you yet. Like, can you hold off? But after that, I didn't see them really step in and try to break up that many fights at all until somebody got spit on or they was right in their face yelling, and you know that I would see them. They didn't do this to me, but I saw them do to other people. They would keep one other guy pumped up full of drugs just because they didn't like him for a particular reason. He was just kind of cranky. He wasn't violent or dangerous. He was just cranky. So they just keep him pilled up to the point where he barely even holds his eyes open. And they'd pull him up. Once I saw him pull him up, and they was going to put him in his cot. And one of the staff members legitimately just like swept his leg kicked him for no fucking reason. just because he got off on it, I guess. I don't know. And I also think with East Central, my blood sugar got really high, up to like the 500s. That's dangerously high if you don't know much about diabetes. My blood sugar is supposed to be between like 90 and 130. My sugar was in the 500s. You know why I got that way? Because they wasn't giving me my insulin. Because they didn't they didn't have any in stock. You know, I know they're not a regular hospital; they're a mental hospital, but you know, Vantage Point and Vantage Point didn't have that trouble. They always had insulin after I ate, and Vita had to bring my own fucking insulin. So I probably had that same trouble there. But it's like, why can't, like, you have a diabetic patient, you know I'm here now, so you need to get some insulin because I need to take some because I was throwing up like crazy. That's what happens. Your blood sugar gets too high. So again, I wasn't eating there either because I didn't want my blood sugar to be high. So I was just not eating anything. I was fucking starving. I had to go without eating. You know, and if you dared say anything to the staff about it, they would just fucking trank you and shut you up. And if you're saying, "Oh, they shouldn't do that. That's abuse," yeah, you're right. They shouldn't do that, and it is abuse. But yes, they get away with it because I've heard stories of other staff members in other places not liking what they see their coworkers do, and they try to like report them, but nobody does anything about it. And what was I gonna do? It would have been it would have been the word of the staff that works there versus the word of the crazy guy that had been locked up multiple times. And you can't win. There's nothing you can do about it. They can do whatever they want to the patients. It's just bad if they feel like it or not. And and it's like a via vantage point. I feel like I was treated okay, kind of. Even though they don't really give you any toiletries or really let you have your own stuff. Like you can't bring in your own books, and they didn't prohibit you from getting visitors, but nobody ever goes like nobody visited anybody at these places. Me, I didn't want um my family to come visit me just because the Vita and Vantage Point was far away from my house. I didn't want them to have to use a bunch of gas driving up there. But other people, nobody visited them at all. And East Central wouldn't allow visitors. East Central, you couldn't even like if you walked anywhere in your own clothes, that was fine, but you couldn't bring spare clothes. And they like the same thing. The cots really fucking thin, and uncomfortable. You might have been better off sleeping on the fucking floor, and they gave you thin blankets to sleep on. At least Vantage Point gave me extra blankets. I told them I was cold, but East Central sure as hell. I didn't even ask it at Vita, honestly, but uh, East Central didn't. East Central, you were treated like a prisoner. You know, like you're treated like you were guilty of something, and it's like I'm here because I need help, not because I committed a crime. I didn't assault anybody. I just like I was going through a crisis, but they treat everybody there like we're just like subhuman. And they only came here for 3 days, but it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And I felt like it fucked me up even more getting out of there than I was before I went in. And I left. I quit my job at Captain D's. That was like the first thing I did when I got out. Well, it wasn't the very first thing I did, but I got out. I just stayed at home for like the next week. Didn't leave, do anything. And soon, the first thing I did when I left the house, I just walked up to my job, told them I quit. I'm done. And I didn't go back to work again for uh, about 4 or 5 months. And that's when I started working at Bistro, and that's pretty much the only job I've had since, off and on. But yeah, East Central is not a good place. You know, if you ever feel like you have to go to a mental hospital, you better hope you don't go to East Central in Augusta, because that's where that one is pretty close to what you see in the movies. The only thing that's missing was straight jackets. Um, if you don't like say if you don't have health insurance, If you don't have good health insurance, you don't have it at all. You're not gonna get sent to a place that actually gives a fuck about helping you. That's gonna keep you drugged up for like 3 or 4 days, or maybe 5 days, and they're gonna send you on your way. And the staff don't really care. Uh, and it's just it's not it, and yeah, and I guess another thing I should mention is each place had they have a phone. If you want to call somebody, talk to them. That they have a phone, just one phone, and these places always had like a little sign saying you're only allowed to use the phone for 10 minutes, but nobody ever fucking followed that rule, and they never tried to enforce it, you know, and basically be like maybe 12, 13 different people all want to use one phone. That caused a lot of conflict. And it sucked in my case because I needed to use that phone to call them to come pick me up when they told me I was going to leave, because they tell you about the day before you leave that you're being discharged, and you don't. That's the thing. You don't know when you're getting out. They don't tell you when before you get there. If you like if you go there from regular, like a lot of, all my case, all 3 times I went from a regular hospital and they transferred me there. They don't tell you when you're in a regular hospital how long you're going to be there. They don't say when you first arrive there how long you're going to be there. It's just pretty much like, oh yeah, you're gonna be here until the doctor says you're okay to leave. But from what I've noticed, when you go to a shitty state ran place without insurance, you're there for about 5 days. So you're not there that long, but it feels like an eternity because you start missing a lot of things you take for granted. You start holding on to any little thing you can that reminds you of your humanity. Like like when I was at Avita and Vantage Point, I was so thankful I was still wearing my clothes, not the hospital gowns that a lot of other people were wearing, because it's the only thing that reminded me of the outside world. There were so many little small things I missed I didn't give a shit about. I was like, I missed being able to put on deodorant. I missed being able to brush, comb my hair. I missed being able to. Well, I did miss showering. I miss showering when I'm not in there, but especially then because I went like 5 days without it. I missed being at like I missed all the bullshit about the internet that I normally don't miss when I'm out. And then there was a. I remember when I was at Vantage Point. Another example of the staff not really caring all that much. There was a Vita in East Central. The male, no, not Avita, not Avita, but East Central was segregated. Men and women were kept in different like sections. So when I was there, it was just all men, and all the old women was kept somewhere else. But Avita and Vantage Point, they were both. They we couldn't share rooms with women, but we had the same like living area, living quarter or whatever. And but yeah, at Vantage Point, there was this woman there. She was like petrified with fear, like way worse than me. She would like get on the floor, get on her knees, and start praying constantly. Like she was shaking and really tense, you know. And I saw a bunch of other patients, like mainly men, were sexually harassing her, saying sexual remarks to her, and saying stuff like, since you're on your knees, baby, why don't you suck my dick or whatever. And the staff didn't fucking do a goddamn thing about it. They didn't say a word to him or anything. And it's just like, like the staff just they don't care. They care about not getting fired. So yeah, they won't starve you, but that's about it. But they don't care. You don't feel like you're being helped or being cared for when you're there. And eventually, like what happened at Vantage Point, where the guys say like, me and one other guy was both like, leave her fuck alone, all right? She's already scared. Like, just fuck off and leave her alone. And that girl actually, I would say girl. She was a woman. She probably had to be around my age, maybe a little bit older. But she walked up to me actually and shook my hand, introduced herself, told me her name. And I was the only person she did that to. So I guess I was the only person she didn't feel threatened by because I was the one that stood up for her. I mean, one other guy did too, but she didn't. Maybe she did to him too. I didn't see her do it. But you like that. I really hated that. And I remember East Central. There was a guy in there. He had a different room from me, and then he just like one point he just walked like I shared this room with other people, so it wasn't just me in there. But he walked into my room, just walked in there when I was just sitting in bed trying to start a conversation with me. I don't think he was trying to like harm me, but he just was being really oblivious and rude. The staff did get onto him for that. That's one thing I also liked about Avita. I had my own room. I didn't share it with anybody. Oh, at East Central and Vantage Point, I did. I already mentioned at Vantage Point that I can never sleep because there's always some guy in there snoring at the top of his lungs. Everybody know the guy in there trying to talk to me when I'm trying to sleep. At East Central, there was a guy who would just walk and pace around the room all night long, like muttering to himself. You bet your ass I wasn't gonna fucking sleep then. I didn't know who the fuck this guy was, what he might do if I was trying to sleep. Now looking back at it, I don't think he would have done anything because he just did that anyway. He just walked around kind of muttering to himself. But I was scared. Like I was just like it's like before when he was doing it before when I was awake when he was in the living part, I could I could watch him or whatever. But I was on a break from that when I was trying to sleep, but I couldn't because it's like I had to watch him at all times. And yeah, that's pretty much my experiences at him. To sum it up, I wouldn't go as far as say you really you're treated like less than human, but you're treated like you're a prisoner. East Central, I was treated like I was less than human actually, but the other two, you're kind of treated like a prisoner, like you're guilty. And it's like I don't recall seeing a judge them saying I was guilty of anything, so why the fuck am I being treated like it? And keep in mind, I'm not trying to say that all mental health facilities are like this. Like if you have really good health insurance, you can go to somewhere. You can go to places that are almost like resorts. You might actually get some help. You might actually feel good there. But if you go to a state-ran place, it's guaranteed it's gonna suck. There's gonna be nothing good. You don't go there to get better. They don't try to make you better. They don't try to help you. The only good I'd say going to a state ran place, the only good it comes from it is if you didn't already know what's wrong with you. If it's like your first time having any sort of mental episode and you're not seeing a therapist, not taking medicine, maybe you might get an answer to what's wrong with you there. But most of the time, if it's your first time being diagnosed, it doesn't stick. Most people get misdiagnosed first. I know it happened to me. At one point, I was just diagnosed with psychosis, and then it was like generalized anxiety with depressive disorder or something like that. And then it was paranoid personality disorder. At one point, they said I had split personality disorder. Now, and then bipolar got thrown in there at one point, which now I have schizo. It's like schizoaffective disorder, the bipolar type, and there's no abbreviation for that. That combined with post traumatic stress, and I feel like those are the most accurate ones because this is the diagnosis I've made the most leeway with, and I've gotten the best treatment for. I mean, I still have my flare ups, but you know, I generally do better now than I did before all the other stuff they tried to say I had. But you're gonna get misdiagnosed the first time. You have to do like go to start. You have to start going to outpatient facilities. take individual counseling and start taking medication for a long time before you actually get proper diagnosis. And finding medicine that works for you is hard too because there's so many different ones and people don't react to one medicine the same. Like what works for one person won't work for somebody else. I can't tell you medicines I've been on that didn't work. I've been on Abilify, didn't work. Zyprexa got where it stopped working. That worked for a while. I didn't like taking that anyway because it knocked me out. It made me sleep too fucking much. It made me drowsy. Like, good luck working or going to school or trying to fucking raise a family or raise children or have a family when you're on that stuff. Because you don't want to do anything but sleep, and it's really hard to get up and wake up. But yeah, Zyprexa, I quit taking that. Abilify didn't work. I've taken Cogentin. I've taken Trazodone. I've taken Geodon. Geodon actually worked, but I quit taking it because it's too expensive. But now that I got health insurance, I could probably go back to taking it. But right now, I'm taking Risperdal, which has the same problem as Zyprexa. It makes me really drowsy, but not as bad. But I'd rather get off of and try to take something. I've tried Paxil, which I hate Paxil so much. I despise it. I think Paxil not only does it not help my anxiety in the least bit, which is what they gave it to me for, it makes it where you can't sleep. Like that, that's a very common side effect of Paxil where you can't sleep. So like, I already have sleeping problems. I have bad insomnia, and that's the last thing I need to deal with because when I don't sleep, even if I can just go a night without sleeping well, it it makes my mental illness worse. Makes my symptoms come start up. You know, I guess you could say it triggers me. Not the same tumbler kind of way either. Um, what else have I taken? I've tried Zoloft. They had me on Xanax at one point, and I hated Xanax. That was probably my least favorite one. That one makes you like that's one of those medicines that makes you like a fucking zombie. You don't care about anything, which that might sound cool. Like, oh, I don't care about anything. I won't be an emotional wreck. But no, you don't care about anything. Anything. Like you don't care to fucking get up and work. You don't care if you lose your job or get fired. You won't care if you're home. You won't care about anything. You're just gonna sit there like an emotionless shell. Now, in some ways, it's cool. Yeah, nothing bothers you, but sometimes you gotta get bothered by things. And plus, Xanax is really, really addictive, and I don't want to take any sort of benzos like that or Ativan. So I don't. And plus, now the place I go to doesn't prescribe that kind of stuff, thankfully. But right now, I'm taking Risperdal. I was another. I was taking Vistra at one point. I didn't fucking do anything either, but I was taking Risperdal. Right now, I'm taking Risperdal. They put me back on Trazodone. I don't remember why I quit taking it in the first place. I think he gave me shortness of breath or something, but I don't think it does now. I'm taking Trazodone, Risperdal, and they prescribe me Paxil. I keep telling my doctors I don't like this shit. It doesn't work. I hate it. I just don't take it though. So I'm pretty much just taking Risperdal and Trazodone. Risperdal has probably been the most effective medication along with Geodon for me. Risperdal it keeps me from hallucinating, and I sleep pretty well on it. So I don't have any huge issues with it. So but I want to go back to work soon, like work part time. So I don't want to be taking Risperdal because I'd be too drowsy. It'd be really hard for me to work. And uh, it like so basically, yeah, I'm still like my medicine situation still isn't perfect. And eventually, too, like if you take one medicine long enough, your body starts to become immune to it. So you got to give them up the dosage. Like they've upped the dosage of my Risperdal now. Like they've upped it like two different times or so. But I want to go back taking Geodon. That was probably my favorite one because it didn't knock me out, but it still kept hallucinations at bay. And honestly, I think the post-traumatic stress diagnosis. If I didn't have it, I think I was already diagnosed with it when I got put in Central. I think, but if I didn't have it before, I certainly had to have to get out of that fucking place. That was it was not a good experience. But yeah, I knew it was gonna be a quick video. It's almost 50 minutes. It's gonna take forever to upload to Facebook now. But yeah, I was just making a video about my experience inside a mental hospital. I'm sure there's a lot of things I left out, but I was this all just off the top of my head. I didn't like plan this out or write notes to cover things. But you know, if anybody has any sort of questions about what's like mental hospital, just ask me. Because I definitely have an answer for it. But I'll tell you right now, I don't know how mental hospitals are in other countries. I'm sure they're shitty over there too. I'm sure if you live in a third world country, mental hospitals are there especially bad. But if you're in the states like I am, and you're thinking about going to a mental hospital, don't do it unless you got good insurance. If it's guaranteed you can go somewhere nice or good enough with good health insurance, maybe. But if you don't have health insurance, you have really bad health insurance, don't do it. Do not do it. Especially if you already know what's wrong. If you're already taking medicine or you've already had a diagnosis, you're better off just suffering in your own home than suffering there. What you should do is to schedule an appointment with a counselor or a mental health clinic, an outpatient facility at the earliest possible time, or call a Georgia Crisis Center and just talk with somebody or talk with a good friend that's available. Like that's what you should do. Don't check yourself in a mental hospital. Like unless it's literally the only option you have, or somebody involuntarily checks you in there because you do not want to go there, especially East Central. And you know, and it's East Central. They got away with everything they did because you don't win against like if I try like who am I going to go to about who am I going to go to about this because it's the staff's word against yours. And you think the authorities are going to take a mental patient's word over the staff's? No, they're not. And a lot of staff take up for each other, according to a lot of stories I've read online researching this kind of thing. But yeah, I don't want this video to go on too much longer. It's almost 50 minutes as it is. Plus, it's almost midnight, and I'm actually getting kind of sleepy. Oh yeah, by the way, my fucking AC, our AC finally got fixed, so we have working AC again. That's why I'm able to wear this hoodie during the middle of summer because it's actually pretty cold in here, but I'm not complaining. But yeah, later.